All right, guys, welcome to the Level Up Project podcast. I am with Dave Silbert, Executive Director of So What Else?
You got it.
So, Dave,
You got it, man.
tell me a little bit about So What Else?
Yeah, so What Else Can We Do to Help is a 15-year project. We're in our 15th year here, and it's taken on ebbs and flows and waves and stuff. For the first 10 years, we were a youth development organization. Our mission was serve kids, serve the community, and get the kids we serve to pay it forward. We've always had this, undercurrent and energy of let's get people involved. Let's get people doing community work. Let's get civic engagement. And I'm actually excited to share with you guys a new project that we're working on in the realm of civic engagement. And then the pandemic hit, and we were at 3,600 kids per year in 2019, and we're all sitting around. It was about 8 or 10 of us on March 10th, 2020, and we were sitting around in the office, and we kind of looked at each other and went, "Well, I guess there's no class tomorrow. What the heck are we going to do? Are we going to fold? Are we going to pause? And of course, you've got your team members that, have a job. So are they going to have a job tomorrow? Right. And, it was a very, very interesting moment and time for So What Else. And what ended up happening is we kind of huddled up and we got into a circle, which I like to get in circle. I like circles. I like the energy of circles and bringing your team together and giving everybody kind of an equitable voice. And we said, well, let's call our communities and find out what can we do to help, which is our tagline, right? And when we called them, it's inner city communities where we serve kids for free and stuff like that. So imagine how scared we all were, the regular average population, down in inner cities and lower income situations, they were even more scared. And immigrants were incredibly scared because they didn't know if they'd get pulled over on the side of the road and, get taken into, to INS or whatever. And so what came of it was people were like, we need food, water, basics. I don't know, And so our team just kind of hit the ground running and said, I always say, turned on the fire switch and got the fire truck out. Not literally a fire truck, but our cars, and just said, we're gonna go help. And we became kind of an emergency response with food, water. Our stud executive director of hunger relief, Megan Joe from University of Maryland, shout out Terps. Really just kind of stepped up and we found out was in the office that whole week making like after school packets that they could take home. And, we also saw an incredible outpouring of love and support from the community. And they came out, they went to Giant, they loaded up our cars, they drove downtown with us and delivered stuff. Before you know it, we looked around and we went, I don't know, we have something here. We have something. And in those, 4 years and 2 months, we've done, 80 million pounds of food. Largest food bank in Montgomery County at this point. I'm not usually a big bragger, but if you get me going, I might. About the charity, I can do it a little bit.
Go ahead. 80 million pounds of food. That's a lot. Congratulations. That's a lot of people that have been impacted.
We get to those numbers because I told you I'm just coming from our Saturday pantry is our biggest food giveaway at our headquarters at 4924 Waiconda Road in North Bethesda. Every Saturday, the team starts at 4 a.m. Well, they really start the day before on Friday, getting stuff ready and all our pallets and all our food. But today we gave away, I would say, 150,000 pounds of food conservatively to, by 10 a.m., there had been over 1,000 people driving through. And I think our team got too tired to keep counting,
Yeah.
But there were over 50, 60 volunteers there today. Saturday is an incredible community event. Every Saturday is amazing. I'm inspired by our team and what we do.
That's phenomenal. Thank you so much for the work that you do. Let's get into impact. Could you tell me or tell us a story of how you guys have impacted individuals or communities? I know there's
Yeah.
tons, but
Mm-hmm.
something that you think will be
Mm-hmm.
moving to share.
Yeah, that's a good question. I never read the questions ahead of time because I want to be in the moment.
These are actually
I did.
impromptu. There's no questions. Just kidding.
um, yeah, I mean, my first thought here was just to talk a little bit about the youth programmings and the work we do in the inner cities. I was telling someone a story earlier today about, some experiences I've had. For instance, back in 2018, we were doing a summer camp for 6 weeks in Baltimore, literally in the middle of The Wire. For those of you guys that have seen The Wire, it was 3 or 4 days into the camp. And
What's The Wire?
The Wire is a show on HBO about Baltimore City and really the drug trafficking in Baltimore City. And I'll tell you why. I'll explain why they call it The Wire, because I learned this day. So I'm 3 days into camp and I'm noticing, guys kind of up and down the street yelling out boy, girl, which boy, girl means cocaine, heroin, actually.
Oh, wow.
And I asked a friend, I said, what are they doing? What are they saying? There's like, you don't know, they're selling drugs, And so I was like, oh, okay. Right in between our field and our rec center, where we do our camp. And they're like, yeah. So we would have to cross this sort of busy road to get from our center to the field where we did the sports. And, it's a really interesting thing because so what else, we go into communities and serve. And so you always have to be really sensitive to the neighborhood and what's going on. And we're there to serve kids. We're not there to be the police. We're not there to, get people in trouble. And in fact, we're very, very careful about, messing with people in their own neighborhoods. Right. And in fact, whether the people in the neighborhoods are quote unquote good or bad or selling drugs or whatever, everyone, first of all, you want everyone to be happy that you're there helping their kids because you want to feel safe in that environment. And, and a lot of times, even the worst elements of society there, or what we would call the worst elements of society, are appreciative that they're there because they don't want their kids to have to suffer. So, in this particular case, we were able to pull off 6 weeks of camps, and I had my daughter with me, and to be honest, there was probably 2 or 3 white kids in the camp, and mostly African American Black camp, and so I decided to interact with the guys there just to sort of let them know we were there and let them know that if anything was happening, let's keep it just how to keep us safe. Of course, how to keep my daughter safe selfishly, right. So one day I went out and I brought the guys on the street waters and just kind of introduced myself, and because it's hot, it's hot summer camps in
pretty
DC,
much like today. It's 98 degrees.
Summer camps in DC and Baltimore are brutal. They're so hot, and in the inner cities, the spaces aren't, they're not great. We're often doing a makeshift type of camp where we're just in an apartment building or in some, could be a rundown type of situation. So we got to make the best of what we have. But, this was an interesting story just because some of my friends were like, what are you doing? What are you talking? What are you doing? And I was like, well, I'm just, making one with the neighborhood, and just making sure that, I understand the elements around here, and I'm offering human beings water is really what I'm doing. Right. And so by the time the end of the camp came around, these guys were like actually being careful about, selling the drugs in front of the kids. They kind of moved over a little bit. And then on the last day of camp, they went to the store and bought like 100 Gatorades and teas and stuff and came back and gave it to the kids. And, we just ended up having a safe camp in a really tough, dynamic, interesting neighborhood. And, you know, a lot of our camps are in that type of environment. And I think, you know, just being able to serve and have that experience and be able to meet the kids where they are and bring them these, you know, different, unique programs is a really cool thing. And I think one more important thing, just in terms of, you know, in that youth space and light, one program we have in DC is called our Teen Mentorship Program. And essentially, you know, the kids in our camp are like 5 to 12 years old. But then you have this teenage area where they really need the programs, but they're too cool to be doing these little things. So what we do is we kind of put them to work where they're our assistants, they're assistant counselors, and all of a sudden you see them, you know, giving back to these kids. And by the end of the summer, you know, they've now got this work experience and this feeling that, hey, I'm giving back. And it's really an empowering cycle of service. And it can really, first of all, you know, the violence in DC right now currently is the worst I've seen it in my 15 years. It's come knocking at our door. We've had kids that have had to duck in the middle of a class, and you know, staff that have, you know,
Where in DC?
So, I mean, we've had incidents at almost all of our sites, but we're in Southeast,
Okay.
Southwest. One of our Southeast sites we had to shut down for 2 months.
Wow.
You know, the issues in the inner city youth camps are so raw and real that, you know, it's in some cases it's kind of unrealistic to, you know, you're really just bringing kids together and just letting them be kids. You know, some of these funders want, you know, well, are you teaching them, you know, engineering or rocket science? It's like, no, we're trying. I mean, we can maybe get there, but we need to get them,
like, is that realistic?
feeling safe, you know, and just, you know, enjoying each other and being able to be kids in a safe space.
I like the Baltimore story in the way it seems like you're demonstrating that, hey, I'm here to help, and you really humanized it. And for those guys that are, I guess, trafficking and selling drugs, to at the end go and buy Gatorade, that's them saying, you know, I feel like they themselves were put in a position where maybe they didn't have a choice, or at least they were back against the wall, and that's all they had as a solution. But they don't want that for their community. They don't want that for the kids that are around. And you coming in, I'm sure they love that. They appreciate it. But them doing that show of kind of faith, extending that hand, is saying, thank you.
Yeah.
I want things to be better for my community. Thank you for coming out. I really like that. I had to include that in to tie it up. That was super nice.
No, thank you. I mean, and it's, you know, sometimes when I tell that story, I feel like it's, you know, controversial because, it's, you know, it's drug trafficking or whatever it is, you know. But you actually said it, and the last piece I always think of and want to add to that story. It's sort of my belief, and I asked one of the leaders in Baltimore, you know, hey, what is the biggest problem in the inner city? What's the issue here? And he said, you know, he thought about it for a second, and he said, it's jobs. There's nowhere to work. Where am I going to work? Am I going to work at the liquor store? I mean, he's like, look around. What do you see here? You know, and you see, I mean, liquor store, you know, stuff like that. Maybe, you know, maybe an automotive shop, things like that. But, you know, it got me thinking that, like, the entrepreneurial opportunity in the inner city, or in that case, is to go sell drugs, you know? And so, and there's this really interesting thought process in the youth development space. When you go and learn about youth development, what they teach you is they say, you know, every child that walks into your class, look at them through a positive lens. They put on a pair of glasses and look at it through a rose color. So if you see a kid coming in with his pants all the way half down and he's walking like this and he's strutting down into the class, you know, instead of saying that's a thug and that kid's a pain in the butt, say, you know, look at it and go, well, he's a leader. There's some kids following him. You know, he's got a little style, right? So it's, you know, if we can kind of I think that's just a good story for just a way to look at things in a positive light. You can always find a positive if you look hard enough and you're committed to that.
I mean, I think that's a way to look at everything in life. Like saying, and I try to do this in my daily life too. Everywhere I go, try to analyze a situation. Like I was in a dealership, and on the wall, they had something to explain. It was a rental car center. It's called Next Car. They had something to explain. It says like, "I am Next Car. I care about the cars and XYZ." And it was just saying, it's essentially, it turned the brand into kind of a living, breathing thing. So it makes the people that I feel like, it makes the people that work there feel like they're part of something bigger, and that they're a part of the change. I think,
Right.
bringing to your point, positivity, looking at, again, putting those lenses on, looking at people and thinking positive, and also thinking, you know, a lot of people say everybody has something to add, and you can learn something from somebody that's
Anyone.
homeless, or
Right.
somebody that's a Fortune 500, CEO, asking questions and just thinking in a like you said, in a positive light. I think that's awesome. That's really the way to go with anybody.
Yeah. Agreed. Thank you.
So that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that story. I think it was super impactful, and it lets us understand a little bit more about our area too.
Yeah.
Um, I had no idea about that regarding Baltimore. I also thought that DC was good and changed. We got Navy Yard and City.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of places that have been changed, but I guess there's still hard areas that need more help. Talk to me about leadership. How do you find people to buy
Yeah.
into your vision and go into these hard areas and
Yeah.
and help?
Yeah. I mean, leadership is something I spend a lot of time on, and it's what I try to read the most about with books. And I've been lucky to have great mentors with especially different funders, people that really believe in you. You got to listen to them whether you like it or not, but most of them have a lot of good leadership skills. I think it's like what you said before we got the podcast started about, there is something attractive about the nonprofit space where, maybe I can have a job, but I can also fulfill my purpose in life. Right. Which, one of my favorite books of all time is Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, where, he was a Holocaust survivor, and he, everyone was dying around him. And people he started to see that what was killing people was they had no more spirit. They had no more reason to live. It was just pain, suffering, freezing cold temperatures, wooden beds, people getting shot, the worst of the worst, death, slavery, Holocaust, all that stuff. But there was something in him that said, I have something to fulfill. I have a purpose, and I have to get out of here so that I can share this story. And he did. He survived it, and his spirit kept his body alive. And he came up with what he called logotherapy, which is the purpose of life is to find your purpose in life. And if you can find that purpose in life, and that, for anyone listening that's ever wants to listen to an incredibly inspiring speaker who died, unfortunately, Wayne Dyer, he talks about your dharma. Your dharma is your purpose combined with fulfilling the 100% that you have in you, that you can be. Most of us are operating at about 40, 50% of what our potential is. But the universe, if we open up to it and we allow it to drive us, the universe has a path that we can be led down, and we can heal people on it. And so I always use that stuff with leadership, particularly in the nonprofit field. I'll get a young kid, or, a young person who has never been in this before. And the way I train is go start, throw them into the fire and learn. And I might give them a title, and people around me will say, "Why would you give them that title? Why would you? They don't know what they're doing." And I always say, "Well,
What title like that?
director of something.
Like
Director of
so somebody fresh out of college, you'd say like project coordinator, for
yeah."
example.
I usually say director. I usually
Okay.
go all the way and say
Nice.
director, and what I say is, I'm not giving you this title based on what you are now. It's based on what you can be, and what if you give your best, and you do your best, this is what you can be. And so I think, and the reason in the nonprofit you have to do that is because we're underfunded. We're all working double jobs. So I don't even have time to really, really train you. It's like you gotta jump in, and you're gonna learn it as you go. And every day, I mean, I don't entirely know what I'm doing. I'm executive director of this company, but I'm learning everything as I go. And and so I know for me, I've had to do that. I've had to become something more than maybe I thought I could be. And I'd say that's like, the important piece of leadership.
Yeah, definitely. And as they say, to do more, you have to become more. No?
Yeah. And you also have to, one of my mentors says, Barbara Guterman, I'll give her a little shout out. She always says, if I can, I must. Right. And that's the humanitarian field, right? If I can do something to help, I need to do that. I must do that. Even if I don't want to, even if I don't think I have the time for it, I have to act if I can, if I have the means, So, but yeah, leadership is a fun, inspiring place to be, to bring the most.
Everybody
out of people.
looks at you for answers, and sometimes you're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea. But,
Yeah.
Try this out and
That's
see
right.
if it works.
And that can be, and that can be empowering. That's where I come in with, it's okay to fail. Try, if you're working with kids, try a lesson plan, and try an activity. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, so what? So you had a bad day, or it wasn't the best lesson in the world. You move on to the next one.
Yeah, no, definitely.
I mean, comedians have to deal with that all the time, right?
Do they?
Try it. Oh yeah, comedians have to try out their set and try out their stuff, and they might not get a laugh.
I thought they were just born funny.
Well, they are, but but they still, they still have to conquer that the unknown.
Yeah, I'm sure there's days where they go up and they're the opening act, and everybody wants the famous comedian,
right.
and
yeah,
it's a hard time, but they get through that. Like you said before, you have to get through no's just to get a yes. Just got to go for it.
Well, the terrible trick of the main act. The main act actually wants the opening act to be crappy, so they look better.
Really?
They go, oh, the main, compared to the main act.
Right.
That guy sucked, but I'm great.
Right.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Cool. I appreciate that. I've always been curious about a lot of things, but in general, how, like you said, nonprofits are underfunded. How does a nonprofit go about getting funds? Because it's different than a business.
Yeah.
It gets revenue from contracts, from rendering a service.
Right.
Is it just cold calling to, hey?
I think there are some similarities. I think the world of business, a lot goes back to, what Dale Carnegie said, and How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's all about, relationship development, and I think relationship development is just, being friends with somebody and just caring about them and hearing what they have to say, right? And we'll do this together, and we'll be forever connected, right? And, if I put something out important, you'll take my phone call, and you'll try it out. And if you put something out important, right, and that you care about, you'll call me and say, hey, Dave, will you do this? And I'll do it. You know what I mean? And that's really, that's really what it is.
Relationships.
Yeah, it's just building relationships and being a friend to people, and caring about them. And um, I mean, I have always had a very. I'm not actually sure what other nonprofit leaders would say, but I always say, I call it a karma philosophy of fundraising, which is, you know what, we're going to go out and do good. We're going to serve, and the universe is going to take care of us. They're going to, if I just stick to my mission, and I help people, and I spread love, and I spread joy, and I spread kindness, someone's going to come in behind and see what we're doing. Now, that's a very philosophical kind of
Very.
overstated, take on the field. It's obviously, way more complicated and way more intricate. But at the absolute, macro level, that's kind of what it is. Go out and do work. And now you got to tell your story, which might stink, or
At the beginning.
Well, because we just today we went out and fed 1,000 people or 1,200 people, but now I got to take pictures of it, tell everybody. I had trouble with that at first.
Really?
I had to have friends tell me, like, you got to tell people what you're doing. I was teaching sports and yoga, and I started a flag football league at Wheaton Boys and Girls Club. And I enjoyed that. And I wasn't dying to run around town saying, I did this and I did that and this and that. You know what I mean? And, I had another nonprofit leader that was like, you got to tell people what you're doing, or you're not going to get money, or, and stuff like that. So now you put a team together that, puts out the newsletter and puts out communications and things like that. But,
yeah, content is currency nowadays.
Yeah. I mean, we have a lot of good content. I actually, I get more concerned about people reading it and people seeing it and looking. And I think that's where the relationship developments could come in, because sometimes, I feel like we put out into the ether. I feel like newsletters, like, people are so over inundated, and, you don't know which charity is actually doing real work, and people are really getting hammered, asked for money. So there's a dark side to this work. There is a dark side to this work. But you're not asking me about that. So
yeah. We'll keep that for another conversation.
We'll keep that for the dark side of the nonprofit world.
So since we cater to two audiences, people that want to become entrepreneurs and current business owners.
Yeah.
I would like to know, is a two-part question. And then the first part being, for somebody that wants to give back to the community, an individual, this can be a professional working at a business, or anybody in general that wants to kind of give back and add that because they feel that passion. Right. It could be your organization. It could be any other organization. What's a way to start?
That's so funny. I am debating whether to use this question to share this new service challenge. I think it sort of answers the question. I'll share it, and then you tell me if you want me to add to the question, because on July 13th we decided to launch a service challenge, which is sort of exactly like you said, is get involved with the community. So it's going to be like the Ice Bucket Challenge, where you do an active service and you document that active service, blog about it, hashtag online. It's going to be called the Love One Another Service Challenge. And then challenge two people to do an active service.
Did you bring me a t-shirt?
Yeah, I got you a t-shirt. Yes. Yes, actually I can. But this is a $200 t-shirt.
Really?
It's the world's most expensive t-shirt because this t-shirt feeds one person for an entire year.
Really?
$176 it costs us to feed somebody 1,095 meals, which is 3 meals a day for 365 days. It cost us, so what else? 16 cents to deliver, and get a meal into somebody's hands.
Wow.
And so we can feed a person for an entire year on less than $200.
It's a low cost.
I marked it up from 176 to 200. Figured round it out. Cost of the shirt.
Yeah.
But and so, in some ways, service is so simple. Just go out and do something good. Register. Type into type into Google. Where can I volunteer? Right, and just start. There's a great quote that I love, which is, I want to get it right because it's a good one. You don't have to be good to start, but you have to start to be good. Right? You can,
That's what everybody says. Execution is key. We can all have ideas.
Right.
Until we do them, and that's when you really find out. And you get better every day. Like you talked about earlier. There's a lot of stuff that you don't know. There's a lot of stuff that I don't know, but just kind of going at it and figuring it out day by day. And mentors are important. People in our peer groups are important. Friends are important. Figure it out.
Yeah, I would say start, take risks, talk to people, meet people. Connecting with people is, that to a lot of ways, that is also what the service challenge is about. Meet somebody of a different color, of a different race, of a different political affiliation. That's almost worse than, racism and things like that, right? Talk to someone that's different, find your commonality. And, as a business, I'm really becoming a quote guy like my dad. Man. My dad's a big quote guy, and I'm really turning
quotes
into
and
him.
shouting out mentors.
Yes. But my uncle ran a cleaners, and he would always say, money is green. Why would I turn anyone away from this store that wants to come in here and spend money? I don't care what you are. You know what I mean? It was kind of a joke. Right. It was a joke to push back at, racism and this, but he used, money as an avenue for that. Like, why do I care if a Chinese person comes in here and spends money, or a white, a black, this, that, it's like, so, but yeah, I mean, I think for the young people, just, jump in there and, put yourself out there a little bit. And, of course you always have to believe in yourself, and you always have to, at some point in time, you might, as Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank says, you might have to take another quote. You might have to take it out in the barn and shoot it. But you should really figure out, take it all the way before you take it out in the barn and shoot it, and make sure that, because you're going to get some no's. People are going to tell you that's a stupid idea. Plenty of people have told me the service challenge is a stupid idea. No one would have thought 15 years ago that so what else can we do to help? I had a friend tell me the other day, I thought that was the dumbest name in the world. When you started that, I you won't do anything, and so you have to believe in yourself and your idea. And that's where it also, I think the spiritual element and the spiritual undercurrent is important. I think if you can open yourself up to the divine and this presence, this energy that we all have, and if you can, I believe in nature and love and kindness. And if you can do those things, you might, if it's driven by that, it should, it could work out.
So just go out and do it. And if it's driven by the right values, it'll work, essentially. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, and then regarding entrepreneurs, they want to implement some sort of giving back in their organization, and they want let's say, want to open it up to have employees be able to donate their time to an organization, say like yours, what do they do? And what are some topics or areas they should consider?
Yeah, that's really interesting. I always actually tell people that there's the nonprofit space, the for-profit space, and then there's sort of this whole open space in between. And to me, that's actually where I think business should be run. I would call that like the social entrepreneurship space or the mission-driven business space. And it's really just ethical business. To me, it's not capitalism that's so terrible. It's unethical capitalism. And so, if I have a pig farm and my pigs are out, grazing in nature, and you have the most, humane form of death for the pigs, that's one thing. People can argue whether that's good or bad or this and that. But if I have my pigs living in tiny little cages and I'm shooting them up with steroids so that they blow up a little fatter, and I can sell more meat, and I'm cutting costs and taking little shortcuts so that I might make a little bit more money, or I'm taking the crap or the waste and throwing it in the river behind. Now I'm cheating the system, right? Now I'm unethical with that. And so I think going back to like values and integrity, you can make your business, whether it's for profit or nonprofit, you can make it mission driven, and you can treat your employees well, and you can care about the planet, and you can care about the where whatever you're selling came from. I tried about 7 years ago. I tried to start a social entrepreneurship business in the middle of so what else, and entered a contest at University of Maryland called the Do Good Challenge. And I started this company called Be Incubative, which was a social entrepreneurship space, a mission-driven incubator, and an online thing where if me and you said, we want to go out and get a pair of jeans, where can we get the most ethically sourced pair of jeans that wasn't made by slaves in Pakistan or something like that,
sweatshop type.
Yeah, and it was too hard. It was 10 times harder than so what else.
Really?
And I just didn't have it was so crazy. It was so hard. And we didn't win the challenge. We came in like second or third in the challenge. And
sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, it was it was really, really
probably
cool idea. And I was so into it for a while, and I was really hopeful, and I made a page, but there was no revenue model, and it would have required complete and total virality. And then what happened is things got crazy in America, and nobody cared about that stuff anymore. Nobody cared about climate and just wellness.
It's like 10 years ago or something?
I don't want to blame it on, I don't want to say any names, but
okay.
It might have been Donald Trump that ruined that for everybody. I don't know.
Man, don't get my video canceled.
yeah, sorry.
Keep it chill.
Keep it chill. Yeah,
Keep it chill.
There I go. Yeah.
That's hilarious. Okay.
So I don't know if I'm answering.
Not really. I'm not. Not really. Not really. Honestly, not really.
Any of these questions?
Not really. I mean,
go back to give me a question. I'm going to answer a question.
I think it was more in terms of the lines. Let's say I have a business.
Yeah.
And we want to add it into. We got a strategic plan.
Right.
We want to add some purpose-driven mission in it because. We want to help, and we're also noticing that the incoming population of students that's coming in the business, they care about something more than working for a profit business. They want a little more.
Right. They want purpose. They want to give back.
Pretty much. And to compete in the market, it's something that we have to add.
Right.
So how do we do that? What should we consider?
Yeah. I mean, I think that piece is pretty easy. I mean, I think you can, businesses are, I think nonprofit businesses are dying to partner with businesses like that. Come in, bring your employees in to volunteer. If there people are willing to donate money or do some kind of, if you're a restaurant, do a restaurant night for the charity. I mean, those partnerships are just low hanging fruit. So I would say if you're a business and you want to get your workforce involved and you want to get your mission involved, you know, and you just want to get that partnership going. I mean, you can reach out to So What Else if you're local,
Yeah.
and we'll jump on it. I mean, we have employee groups coming daily to our pantry to work, to work in the thrift shop and on the food. We have places like Mama Lucia are great partners that have gone all the way from throwing us a golf tournament to having a restaurant night. So as a business, I can tell you that as a business, reaching out to a nonprofit and offering support is like an angel coming down from heaven. So if you're a for-profit business and you want to be mission driven, I mean, just partner with a charity, and anything else you do on top of that is is a bonus. If you want to start getting into all my social entrepreneurship crazy stuff, you can do that too.
Sounds as simple as picking up the phone and making the call.
Yeah. Or picking up the Google machine and figuring out where your local charity is and just doing a little research to figure out. The only thing you got to look through in the charity world is, who's really doing it. I suggest, going to events and just seeing, make sure you see, because you don't want to get those charities that are just a call center with a bunch of people sitting around a room calling for money.
Oh, that's a thing.
Oh, that's a thing. Yeah.
Wow.
You just take some very heart-wrenching subject like cancer or a child die. And I'm not saying all of them are like this, but you can just, take a word like child cancer and immediately, we're all like, oh, that's terrible, right? And it's just 10 people sitting around a room calling for money, and they might take 10-20% of that money and send it to a child cancer group who's actually doing something, and the rest just goes to the fundraisers in the room. People use the nonprofit
the tax benefit,
and you don't pay taxes on it,
right?
So that's why I like to consider us a mission driven organization where like I said earlier, we do the work, and then what happens after that is, we put in the hands of everyone else. But
no, that's great. No, I appreciate it. Thank you for being one of the real ones.
I'm trying to stay real.
Yeah. Cool. So in terms of learning, I would love to know, again, for those two segments, say entrepreneurs, what are some, you could say one or two challenges and how you overcame them?
One or two challenges.
I know there's probably many.
Yeah. I mean, you get, one challenge is, you really have to build a team, and you really have to build a culture, and you have to, you can't, you want one more quote? I got a quote. One of our funders says, you can't ride two horses with one ass. So, you can't be everything to everyone as an entrepreneur. So you have to start really learning how to delegate and find your communications person, your camera guys, your all the different pieces of the organization.
Have you read The E-Myth?
No.
Check it out.
E-Myth?
The E-Myth. It's the entrepreneurial myth.
Oh, what does it say?
It talks about you starting as the service technician, then the manager, than the entrepreneur. And it talks about every single cycle and
Mm.
how, the differences between each. And again, you can't be everyone,
Hmm.
and you may be a good technician, but you might not be a great manager.
Right.
You might be a great manager, but you may suck as an entrepreneur.
Right.
So it really breaks them down, explains it thoroughly, and it kind of shows you, because unless you're in a place you are now, after you live it, you don't know these things.
Right.
So read the book,
Yeah.
and it
Right.
tells you all these things, and then you're
Right.
kind of more open to
Oh,
it, and then
that's
you can
good.
make those decisions early on. Yeah,
Yeah.
check it out.
You
It's
don't have
really
to learn
good.
everything the hard way.
Yeah, well, which is,
Yeah.
but to your point,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, right now we're facing, some of the hardest challenges that we've ever faced. What's happened currently is last year we fed 482,000 people, and had 2,500 kids. And so when January 1st comes, every year we got to start over with $0 for that year. And what's happening is the need in the world, the need for food, the need for youth development programming is expanding so rapidly that we're meeting this need on the ground, and our staff and our team and our kids and our clients are asking for things, and we meet those needs, and then the checkbook doesn't always follow that. So over the last 18 months, we've noticed that we're losing money every single month. We're losing $10,000 to $15,000 monthly on average, and we're kind of going, what's going on? Are we overspending?
yeah.
Is it inflation? Do we need to? Are there ineffective people? Are there ineffective programs? Do we need to cut things? And it's a little bit of all of the above, especially scale. Scaling is something that I still have a lot to learn about. Really scaling. I mean, I've scaled from, small to whatever we are now, medium. We're like a $3 million organization, and we have Baltimore, and we have DC, and we have a couple missions. But how would you get So What Else into all of America? Because man, maybe America could use that. Maybe every city could use something that gets people asking, what can we do to help? Get that question mark going to there. But just going back to the challenge question, I'm in it right now, actually, of how to fill that gap and how to raise the money that we need to be able to not only forget expand, but just sustain, just feed those same 482,000 people that we fed last year, just feed them again. And in my industry, I don't need a big growth. I don't need like a big growth plan. Like, how are we going to plan? Like, the people are going to line up at the door.
Right.
And I don't need to figure out how I'm going to feed, where I'm going to find these people anymore. They're hungry and they can find us. And I was talking to somebody yesterday. There was a big donor, and we was explaining all this stuff. And, he said, talent, strategy, culture. And I just thought that I think I need a talented fundraiser that can really be dynamic and meet people and help tell this story, and realize that I can't do it all on my own and that kind of thing. So I'm trying to attack that challenge by elevating our profile, making sure that people know about our work. And we have a new SEO company. We're putting stickers on our vans, doing stuff like that. Cause it's like, wait, people don't realize that So What Else is out there. So we need to elevate that profile a bit.
Kind of branding and marketing side, huh?
Yeah. And then, we deal with a lot of donor fatigue. People have been supporting us for 15 years, and they're like, oh man, Dave's calling. Like, I'm not taking that call,
Really?
Dave's come and run. Oh, well, a lot of people are nice, but
Yeah.
I'm annoying. I'm gonna, I'll probably ask you for money in 6 months, and you'll be like, "Jeez, shouldn't have done that podcast." That guy's a pain in the butt. No, but I mean, I'm always looking for money because the clients don't pay, so
Yeah.
we need that community support. So, and I mean, I think the service challenge is not only I believe very strongly in the service challenge, and I believe that America will be better off if people go out and engage in their civic duty to be kind and serve. But there'll also be a link at the bottom where you can donate to someone else too. So I want to try to support our organization through that as well, if that makes sense. So it's just to meet that challenge. It's being creative, it's being resilient, and sometimes it's it's 2 days ago I had to move money around just to make payroll, and I've been feeling lately like I'm just trying to hold serve and push back the big tidal wave that could run us over and maybe even take us out of business. There's no guarantees in this world that you're going to be successful, and you just have to kind of win every day. So I'll let you know how that challenge goes.
Yeah, we'll see. I think that kind of covers entrepreneurial, and I think aspiring entrepreneurs can learn a lot from those challenges as well. And I appreciate you being so transparent. Instead of talking about past challenges, you kind of raise the roof and talk about current things that you're going through and just put it all out there. And I appreciate that a lot. It's rare these days for somebody to come on, talk about problems that they're having now that the solution might not be there.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, yeah, thank you. I mean, I don't have all the answers.
That's why we got ChatGPT.
Yeah.
But no, thank you. I appreciate you for coming on.
Yeah.
This has been great. I've definitely learned a lot, and I hope this has been valuable to our viewers. Guys, it's a Level Up project.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's a great setting and a great place and great questions. And I'm sorry I evaded all the questions.
Don't worry about it. Next time.
I got some quotes in though.
Yeah, that was good. All right.
Yeah, cool.
See you guys.
Thank you.